The 18s and 21s, we started putting things in the programme. So things in the programme off the field. So we got a mindfulness room. In the mindfulness room, they had beanbags, they had a colouring in wall, they had books, they had games, blankets. We had little greenery scenery. So we had a lot of plants popping up everywhere. We changed our offices so that the fact of we got more greenery, we got more collaboration. But so the 18s and 21s had a mindfulness area. They had yoga in their program 3 times a week, but they also had individual work. So if I'm working with a player on emotional control, for example, he'd come in the morning, he'd come and do some breath work with me in the mindfulness room, and then he'd go into his individual session. And then I worked with a coach on what was his triggers, how he then the coach noticed when he was starting to tip, what some of the strategies we were working on, so he could reinforce it. So the coach got the education around it. And then I might have done then some more purposeful work in the afternoon with that player around visualising. So, for example, we had one player that we got some footage on that he kicked out, and we worked on how he felt before his action, how he felt it in his body, where he felt it in his body, and then we did some visualization around changing his response to that stimulus. And we reinforced it. So the breath work was all around developing his, we call window of tolerance, his soil, his emotional resilience. But then we had a bit of the performance element as well of using, we know that your brain doesn't know you're thinking it or doing it. So visualization were really key, and we just really focused in on his behaviour patterns changing, layering that. This then becomes the strongest behaviour, and the old one doesn't get rid of, but it lays dormant. So this is his new way of behaving in his emotional control. So that's one example. We've done some work with goalkeepers with mics in the GPS, tracking their communication. We've taken singing lessons. Again, visualization on speaking and having communication, and they are then might have to present and do sessions with the little ones. So you're then stimulating them on presenting back. Well, probably a lot of that work is probably what people say, oh, well, that normally gets done, and that's not neuroscience. But for us, it was an element of giving them the understanding of how their brain and their body operates. So it's always been giving them the why behind we do it, the science, then the tools, and then the support. And that was kind of my role. And then obviously working with the members of staff to get them to see things slightly differently, or get the buy-in to their approach, because I want around them all the time to reinforce, and then the keys of their behaviours, because they were the ones that then could influence, and how they behaved would then influence their body. So, for example, the player with the emotional control, if the coach starts to get irate, it is starting to tip. So he's got to realise that he's enforcing or he's triggering some of the behaviours. So then how does he navigate that as well? So yeah, a lot of work went off, but enjoyed it for definite.